Tommy Beck, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now here's your host.
What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle, and here we are doing a take two with Damon from the band Of Virtue. What's going on, man?
How you doing, brother? Hey, it's a great day. It's nice and getting that fall chill now, which is good for me. I love it when it's nice and like in the 50s and 60s. I love it.
Yeah. You're up there in Michigan, right?
Yep.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'm down here in Cleveland, but yeah, I feel the same way, man, especially when the leaves start turning and all that good stuff. It's good to be outside and enjoy the weather and stuff. But like as I was saying, at the beginning, this is like take two because we met at Inkcarceration, and I got a chance to interview you and some of your band members, but sound issues, wasn't able to get it all together. So I'm glad for the opportunity to follow up with you. Usually when I have people on for the first time, I like to get a quick background. So do you remember originally what you wanted to be when you grew up?
Oh, man. I'm going to be honest. I didn't really, for a while, it's like, people are like, oh, I wanted to be like firefighters and doctors and police officers and all that kind of stuff. I think for a while growing up, it's just kind of like, I was kind of just happy, like existing. I never really was like, I want to be like a specific thing, but I always gravitated toward certain things, right? Like I used to play sports. I still do, but like, I used to bowl competitively growing up. So that was the thing. I was like, oh, maybe I could do this. Or, I've taken music lessons ever since I was a kid. So in my mind, I never really thought like, oh, maybe try to turn that into a profession or anything. But again, it was always something that, I was inclined to do, that my mom, she was like, hey, you can, like any good parent, you try to put your kid in as many things as you can and see what sparks the interest. And that was the thing that inevitably kind of, set off the shockwaves in the brain where, we kind of, oh, hello. This is my cat, Oliver.
What's up, Oliver?
Yeah, he may or may not try to hijack the interview a couple times, but it's quite all right. He's a good boy.
It's all good. I've been on plenty of interviews where cats, make cameos. So all good, man. So then, like you said, your mom kind of had you in music as a kid. What were some of your like earliest influences?
Oh man, I would say probably in the world, at least in this world, it's like I grew up with a lot of Motown. I grew up with, hip hop, R&B, like that kind of stuff. Michael Jackson was a big one. The Temptations, like anything that was funky, if it had a groove, if it feels catchy, like I gravitated towards that, especially in some ways too. If it was like, it could be fun, but like I always loved kind of like the darker, like kind of give you one of these, or you're like, learning how to play Beat It like Michael Jackson, like that bass line, that feel, just like it's kind of sinister, but it's kind of pop. It's very poppy. It's groovy, like that kind of stuff. I've always loved that. And, I guess transitioning to what I do now, it's like, it kind of makes sense where it's like, metal and rock kind of have that edge to it where it's like, it's a little darker, it's a little edgier. But I still like to be catchy, still like to have a nice pocket, something that people can, throw down to, but also just stand there, bang their head, bob their head, have a good time. And, hearing like Slipknot, hearing Seven Dust, Deftones, Limp Bizkit, all those bands at first. Linkin Park is one of the bands that, like, when I heard them for the first time, I was like, I've never heard something like this. Like, and that was like everything that I liked all at once. It's, like you said, it's electronic music, it's rock, it's metal, it's hip hop, it's groove, it's extremely top level songwriting. Like it was a perfect storm, man.
Nice. And then like, so then when did you start like playing in your first band?
Ooh, probably around the same time that I was like mostly discovering all these bands, like, because all the new metal stuff, all the big rock stuff was huge, but I also did like some punk rock. I liked the pop punk stuff that was happening as well. And honestly, I started playing in those kind of bands first because it was easy. It's like, just pick up a guitar, play a few chords, sing some nonsense, and that would be the way that we'd start. You just go over to a friend's house, like, kind of, if you could imagine, like, I'm for sure some people, you pick up a guitar or a bass or whatever your instrument was, you have a small little amp that's like maybe that big, the size of my cat, and you just lug it over to a friend's house, dink around in the garage for a little while until everybody realizes they're absolutely horrific at their instruments, and go in and hang out with your friends. And then one day you're like, oh shoot, we actually made something that was kind of cool. And it's like everybody catches that feeling of like creativity of like,
Nice. And then, so when was it that, I mean, you started like playing with your friends in the garage, but what was like when you started playing out like in the local scene, and what was the scene like around your town?
I would say like seriously playing in the local scene. I'd say, I want to say around 2000 and I think we played our very first show, like my first time ever playing like a live show. I want to say I was like 2003, 2004, something like that. Real young. Coffee shops, churches, like you're the first band on, whatever. I can't remember what the first show was, to be honest with you. I know there was probably like 6 people in the crowd, but no one cared because you were like, oh my God, we got the opportunity to, play live music. The metal bands that I started later in later years, that scene was a little interesting because in Lansing specifically, like we had like a local scene kind of, but we'd always have to go to like the surrounding areas. We'd have to go to Grand Rapids, or we went to Jackson, Michigan, which is 30 minutes south of us. And for whatever reason, that scene was popping. Like it was crazy. Like you'd have, 200-300 people just showing up to all local, just random shows. And like, I look back at it now, like Mike and I or other guitar player will like kind of randomly be in like hotel rooms, like, reminiscing about certain things. And it's like, we go back and like listen to all the bands. We try to find demos, and you're like, man, this is not good. But people were stoked on it. So that's, it was just cool. It was a good time to be alive. You had death metal, you had metalcore, you had some rock stuff, you had just everybody was just doing everything, and no one cared. Like that was kind of the cool part.
Nice. And then when did Of Virtue come together for you?
Oh, that came, I'd say like late. What do you call it? Late 2000s, like 2010s. Like we got our lineup that we, the first like real iteration of the lineup was around 2010, where it's like, finally getting everybody in there that, we would keep for a little while. The lineup that we have now, we've had since COVID with Tyler, with Ryan. Tyler joined the band in 2017, I want to say. And we kind of look at it as like 2 different chapters, right? It's like there's, I don't want to say when we didn't take it seriously, because we've always taken this band seriously, but it's like trying to figure out certain things, which way the band can go stylistically, learning more about music business, because for the longest time, it's like we were just kind of doing everything ourselves. So you kind of had to, figure it out, whether it's, promoting yourself, getting out, DIY touring, playing shows, just getting yourself exposed. Like 2017 for us is like, we look at that as like the, second start of the band, like the official, like, hey, from this point on, it's like everything kind of took like a different trajectory. So
nice. So yeah, what I liked when we first met and we were talking, it was just like the diversity of the band, like is like, also the strength it seems like of the band, everybody coming from all different backgrounds, and then, you know, bringing, you know, their, I guess, life to the table and stuff, you know. How did that like influence some of the songs you guys write and create?
That's, you kind of said it. It's everybody has their own palettes, everybody has their own tastes, everybody has their own backgrounds. So when we do get together, oh, sorry about that. It's, you know, everyone's gonna have their own opinions and want to do things, or, you know, hear something that strikes a chord with them. And every now and then, most of the time, it's like we'll hear demos and like we listen back and we're like, wow, that doesn't make any sense. And eventually it's like one gives way to the other. But it's kind of cool that, you know, maybe I have an idea that I put in there that doesn't necessarily work, but it triggers something in, you know, Tyler's brain, or it triggers something in Ryan. And it's like we kind of start to find the workaround to when we hear the finished product and we're like, wow, I can't believe we actually got to that destination. Because if you tried to write it one specific way, it would have never felt as fresh and organic and unique as it did. So it's like, you know, the benefit of, again, of all of us kind of having really just radically different musical upbringings, but being able to kind of coexist and do stuff like this. It's cool, man. And it's reflected in a lot of, in pretty much all the stuff that we do. So not just music.
Yeah, and that's a powerful statement right there. It's just like, you know, what, you know, and not to talk about like outside stuff, but at the same time, it's like, it seems like, you know, the powers that be like to use those things to keep us divided. But when we come together, man, magic happens, and it's a powerful thing. And you guys are, you know, an example of that just on stage when you perform. I caught your set at Inkcarceration, and it was just like, you know, there's definitely magic there. I'm curious though, like band names, like what was the inspiration for the name?
Just wanting to be like a better version of yourself. That's kind of how we interpreted that, you know, at the time, especially for me. Like I was going through a lot of different things, and it was kind of like a, you know, a North Star type of deal where I'm like, you know, putting all of my energy and time and whatever I'm doing into, you know, this band. It gives me something to kind of actively live for and want to strive to be better for. So that's kind of where the name came from. Nothing crazy. It's like, it didn't take very long. I remember, I think it was our like very, very, very first guitar player, and then Mike, I was texting everybody. I texted him like 2 names, and they were like, oh, that one's cool. And I was like, cool, just rip it. Let's go.
Nice. And talking about your performance at Inkcarceration, I mean, what was that like for you guys getting to play, you know, like the main stage, and, you know, be a festival that size? Is that like your first festival, or?
No, we've played festivals before, especially some of the bigger ones. We're fortunate that they're starting to become more of a like normal occurrence, which is crazy in its own right, like to even say that. So, you know, big shout out is obviously to, you know, Danny Wimmer, and being able to be a part of that ecosystem. But no, Ink was fantastic. This was our second time playing. We played in 2023 as a like a late edition, because I believe that year Kublai Khan, they couldn't play, and we were coming back from Europe and got an email. Our manager was like, you guys want to go play Ink? And we're like, Ink what? And they're like, Inkcarceration. I was like, oh yeah, isn't it going on? They're like, yeah, but so and so just dropped, and we just got an email for it. So I was like, hell yeah, that sounds great, let's go. And literally just went in there. I think we had like a 1 day's rest or something like that, if that. We played on a stage with, it was like POD and Chelsea Grin and our buddies in Thousand Below, like ton of great art. Coal Chamber was one of the headliners, Limp Bizkit. And yeah, it was dope. So like I said, being able to do that, we've played Louder Than Life. We did Welcome to Rockville earlier this year, did some home state festivals, like play festivals overseas. Yeah, it's been wonderful. And anytime we get a chance to do like the larger ones, it's awesome to kind of, the energy is different, right? Like we love playing big venues, we like playing small venues. Really, we just like playing shows where people are stoked. So you just know when you get to a festival, everyone is there ready. They're like, they're basically just saying, give us the word, right? And for us, Inked was awesome because your main stage for one, so people, they're going to show up and want to see other bands, and you kind of get to either be the surprise or, thankfully in our case, because we're close by and we didn't have a Michigan date on our last tours, we had a lot of people that were like, hey, we're going to come down and come see you guys. So it's like we could look out into the crowd, and I saw probably 50 people conservatively that I could recognize, like just from like backstage, where I was like, man, that's crazy. And then a whole bunch of people that maybe didn't know who we were at the time, but again, we got it rocking first thing in the morning, and you kind of set the tone for the rest of the day, so that when you're walking around and you're hanging out and people are like, I've been to festivals, I've been to shows where, I go to see one band and it's the opener that you're like, oh shit, they were the one that, like, they set the bar so high that it kind of, everybody else was good. Or you got to see who you want to see, but they're the first thing that you remember because it's the first thing that you experienced that day. So, yeah, it's fun, man.
Nice. Yeah, and I've heard, everybody gets treated well from the, top to bottom. The bands at any Danny Wimmer festivals, everybody's treated very well.
Yeah, no, I guess I can't say enough kind words about everybody, how their ship is ran, from catering to logistics, hospitality, all of it backstage. They make it run smooth, seamless. As long as you as a band, you're on top of your stuff, you get in, get out, there's zero problems, then, hey, you're going to have yourself a good time.
Nice. Now, another thing that I wanted to touch on, first, let's talk about the 50 million streams that you guys hit back in March with Omen. Were you, was that like, what was the creative process like for that song, and were you expecting it to blow up as big as it did?
Again, to be honest, no. That record, it came about like kind of a lot of things, like, COVID, the world shut down, people's attentions were diverted elsewhere, but it allowed, I feel like for us and a lot of other artists maybe that were in a similar spot where it's like, we're doing good, but maybe we weren't on the correct trajectory. Like, you were still touring, we were still doing well. We had signed our first deal at the time. So we thought things were on the up and up. COVID happens. We're like, shoot, we got to kind of go back to the drawing board, but it's kind of good that we didn't. And we didn't really know when live music was going to be coming back, at least for us. Because big bands, obviously, we look at it, it's like a banking system. Like, they'll figure it out. Their labels are going to figure it out. They're going to get the information first. Live Nation, AEG, all those big, they're going to figure out their stuff. But it's like the little guy, that's where it could be a little bit harder. And it's like you had to figure out ways to stand out, whether it's social media, whether it's your songwriting. And for us, it was like, okay, if we're going to keep doing this, let's really hone in on the things that, like you said, we're strongest. Like, it's not really like trying to pretend to be something else, but it's like, let's not make it just one viewpoint. Let's really dive into everybody's backgrounds and see if there's something that we're missing, or, hey, what's a type of song that you wanted to write? What's a subject matter or a thing that's always been on your heart or on your mind that you maybe haven't brought to the table? And it's like the culmination of all those ideas brought out this record in a special time, in a time where, again, people were looking and craving connection. They were craving something that, they could latch onto and maybe have some meaning in them. Streams don't mean everything, but they are a metric, at least to show us that it's like people do care. And as long as people care, in our eyes, it's like we care regardless, but it shows. It's like your work's not being just put out into the ether and, nobody's listening. So it's special, man. Like I said, even when people say it, it's like I have friends and bands and like been doing it for a long time, and like they'll be like, hey, take stock of this. This is a crazy goal, because there's a lot of people that don't even get like 1 million streams on a song or even 100,000 streams on a song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to
Sure.
throw out a number like that, it's like, well, shit, you had to have been doing something right. You know?
Well, like you were saying too, it's just like, I think what connected too is just like, the fact that you guys were being like authentic and, addressing like, you're being real about like struggles that you're dealing with. And then during that time frame, put COVID on there when everything was uncertain. You didn't know if there was going to be, a lot of people were feeling that uncertainty, even whether they were in a band or not. Everybody's just like, dude, are we going to get out of this? Depression, mental health issues were skyrocketing. And the fact that you guys, are advocates of that and address that, I think that's amazing on your part, but also speak to so many people and reaches so many people. So,
Hey man, and that's all we're looking for is like, we're out here every day in normal everyday life, and we see what people are going through, and we are a part of that. Like, we still work jobs when we're at home and can integrate ourselves back into society. And it's like, when you can diagnose what's going on around you and be like, man, I wish this existed, especially here in Lansing too, man. Like, over the years, like, there really hasn't been much of a music scene since the venues like closed down from COVID. And we have some wonderful friends, Scotty, that opened up a new venue downtown called Gray Wall Hall, and they're trying to help cultivate and have newer bands start up and want to be a part of live music. Because again, there's so many things to do. There's like, you have everything online. People have to work their jobs and make money to survive. But outside of that, it's like, in some ways, like, I don't want to say like being in a band for that way is like kind of like a lost art or a forgotten art in some respect. But just wanting to be a part of showing people, at least from Lansing, Michigan, where it's like, hey, you can, if you want to do this, there is a roadmap to do it. And sometimes you need bands that are on the radio. You need that are saying like, hey, I'm proudly from this place. And people can tune in and be like, damn, okay, where us growing up, we couldn't point at Q106 or we couldn't point at Riff or some of these other places and be like, oh yeah, I know that guy. He, works at XYZ, or I see him in the grocery store all the time. Or, it's like, okay, that's a thing. It's a real tangible, goal that can be accomplished with the right help, the right steps, and the right people. So that's also a big part of it too, of like wanting to give back and help our musical community not just completely fizzle and die out like you see happen in so many other places.
Yeah, I remember so many of the venues that I would go to growing up around here in Cleveland are no longer, around, because after COVID, it's like, we lost so many. The scene used to be pretty tight, and there was a lot of upcoming bands, and you'd just go and it'd be like Norm from Cheers. You'd see everybody, everybody knew you and stuff, in that type of community. But a lot of those shut down, and now it's just like you said, it's just like AEG, it's Live Nation, it's it's the bigger ones are still going, and that's people need that release, that artistic release, especially like you said during that time of uncertainty. And you guys you said being like, what made you guys like become like advocates for like mental health?
We all deal with it in some way, shape, or form. Like, if it's anxiety, if it's some depressive episodes, if it's knowing people that have gone through it, having friends that you try to help out that sometimes you don't know how to help, or family members, issues with health, that's a thing that can weigh on somebody all the time. And it's like, I've grown up in a house where it was like, hey, if you need something, or if you're feeling a certain way, don't be afraid to like speak out and to ask for help, and to, say, hey, I'm not feeling good, or I'm not feeling all right. It hasn't been, regardless of that, sometimes it hasn't been the easiest to do it, because it's like, life sometimes it's adapting, it's figuring out stuff on your own. not everyone's going to hold your hand through it, but at the same time, it's like there do need to be mechanisms and things in place for people when it gets too much for themselves. Because again, we're human beings, man. We're meant to connect. We're meant to help each other. But there are things that we have to do on our own, but then there's also things that we need to do as a whole. And it's like to be representative of that side, of that mindset, to say like, hey, look, we do our best to help anybody and everybody that comes in contact with us, and even people that we don't necessarily know. And like our way of doing it is, being online, talking to people through messages all the time. We respond, we run our own socials. So it's like at any point, somebody could just message us and we do get it, where it's like, just have random chats back and forth. And you never know what it can do for somebody, especially like, again, I remember like first getting online and like if a band responded to me, I'd be like, oh my God, it like makes your day. You're like, holy shit, somebody cares. It's like, and not that like we're in like a crazy position of power, but some people do look at it. It's like they do put you, in a different light. And it's like, if you are going to operate in that space, use that light for good. So.
Yeah. Amen, man. And, something else that I was reading about that I know we share in common is our sobriety. You mind shedding a little light on your journey?
Oh yeah, no problem, man. I've been 18 years this year. November 11th is the actual day, so we'll call it 17 and however many months until that point. But again, I hit a pretty rough patch back in the late 2000s where it's just like, things kind of just went off the rails, and I had a series of choices that I had to make. And it's called keep doing what I was doing and keep getting the same results, which is, it's hurting people, it's straining or just completely severing relationships. It's being in and out of jail. It's hurting myself, or get your shit together. And again, sometimes it's easier to say it than it is to do, because you can always tell people to do something else, but then when someone tells you to do something, you're like,
Yeah.
But thankfully, again, having a great support system in my family, having friends that stuck around, because that's the other thing too, man, is like being on whatever road for any period of time. It's like I do have some people that have been by me the entire time, but you notice who your real friends are over that time, where it's like, it used to be the life of the party, man. You used to have a lot of acquaintances, used to talk to a lot of different people for many different reasons. Mm-hmm. And as time went on, it just, a large swath of them, they fell off immediately. And then as you kind of adjust yourself and your lifestyle and everything else, they slowly until you just kind of get down to that circle, that little handful of people that's like, hey, we're still here. We're still doing it. We're still rocking. And, it's that kind of support and that kind of love, again, that has helped, along with me, taking accountability for what I did, like writing in a journal, if it helps, for some people, it's a lot of different things, man. It's a lot of different steps over a long period of time, but music also at the same time being something that I could focus my kind of like, it's like weird, nervous, semi-destructive energy that decides it wants to manifest itself every now and then.
Yeah.
But me being able to do this is an outlet, because especially with metal and rock, it's like our music's pretty heavy at points, and it's like that's the thing, that's like the catharsis that I'm like, good. I'm glad that I have a place to let that out in the most creative, passionate way possible. Like I like to work out, I like to be outside sometimes, but sometimes it doesn't hit the same way as getting on stage and telling a story, telling your truth, having people connect with that, talking with them afterwards, and being able to try to help other people that may be in a similar position or are struggling with just trying to identify what's actually wrong with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. I can relate with so much of that. I know, you know, I look back at my journey as well. I got 16 years. I'm approaching 17.
Congrats.
And yeah, thank you. And you know, I mean, I was involved in, you know, I was in the military for one, where sometimes that's you know, that enables that, you know, we work hard and then we would play hard afterwards.
Oh yeah.
You know, and then when I was involved in you know, promoting shows and bands here in the Cleveland music scene, it's like you hang out with rock stars, you got to party like a rock star, you know, fit in. And it was like I noticed, you know, at the highest of highs, you know, who my core people were when I was during my lowest of lows too, you know. And you get out of that, and you know, it's been, I mean, I'm 52 years old, man. I still struggle with wanting to grow up a lot of times, you know. But I have to look at, you know, where like my higher powers brought me and where he was with me during, you know, the times where I was destructive and cutting people off and all that, you know, to, you know, who's with me today. And yeah, man, it's a powerful story. So good on you too, man, for having your circle, and I'm sure that, you know, reflects in in not just your playing, but you know, whatever you contribute to the you know, the writing process, you know, and sharing that message out there.
Oh yeah, that's again, and that was something too where, you know, I always haven't been. I don't want to say it's like forthright. Like I for a while wanted to keep that part like kind of distance, because it's like, you know, there's a lot of people that I've met in music where it's like they don't know that like portion of my life, and it's so far removed at this point now that it's like it really is just like telling a story. It's like, can you believe that da 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 da? And they're like, no, I can't. And I was like, yeah, well, it was true. But it's there. And you know, for some people where it's like, hey, I see some of the same things that I was doing in what you're doing now, and it's like, well, shoot, if you know, if you can be this, then maybe I could probably try to do the same. And it's like I had to find those people too, man, where like some of my friends now, they're like, you know, used to be addicts, or you know, we'll say still are always in recovery kind of deal, but it's like I would see how they, you know, they would show me videos or tell me story, and I'm like, it's kind of wild, and I just laugh because I'm like, you know, it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense at the same time. And they're like, no, because you get it. It's possible. Yeah. Look, it is possible to change. It's very, very difficult to change. That's the key. It's just you have to want it. For some people, and for a lot of us, it's you're hitting absolute fucking rock bottom before you're gonna do anything about it. And it sucks that it has to be that way, but at least you hit that point before you know, are not on this earth anymore. So
exactly, that's what I was gonna say. Hit rock bottom, then you know 6 feet under bottom, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of times it's not always like, you know, bragging about the crazy days. It's just like, yeah, dude, I unfortunately, with humility, I got to share, you know, some of the things I was doing just to show you, you know, the growth and the person that I become and that I'm still becoming one day at a time here today, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely, man.
Well, hey, man, before we get ready to wrap up, I want to ask you a couple of the questions I normally have asked my guests. You're talking about, like, you know, some of your early influences in music, and especially like in the metal world and stuff, but would you say are your top 3 artists you're listening to today?
Ooh, not you. You know, let's actually, I'm going to literally open my phone right now and just take a look. Let's take a look at Spotify here. So we have, and this is, I'm just showing everybody this too. This is kind of the wild part. We got, I think I was jamming myself for whatever reason. There's a band called Fox Lake. That's super sick. Kind of heavier, kind of beat down stuff. I don't know if you saw this one in here. Right below it. What's that say? Cleveland Legends, baby. Cameo.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Dude, I was listening to Pass Out of Existence the other day. Like, woo! I miss this band. I miss that record. so
Oh
much.
yeah, man. Jimmy cuts my hair. He runs a barber shop from that band. So
Oh man, well, next time you go into the barbershop and get a haircut, he has no clue what's going on maybe. But you just be like, "Hey, this one band, Name of Virtue, their guitar player, he fucking loves you guys." So
nice. I mean, and they're playing louder this year. Too bad you guys, you guys weren't playing that one, huh?
no, not this time. Because I think we did it last year. They do like a 2-year gap on it. So, but yeah, listen to that. Spirit Box is one of my favorite like newer bands too. Like they're super sick.
Nice.
And honestly, we're going on tour here in like 3-ish weeks, and ton of sick bands like Archers. We went on tour with a band called Rivals, Dead Eyes. There's a guy called Elijah, Royal Lynn. This band called Never Easy. 2 separate tours, but October, November, we'll be on the road with all of them. They're all great artists in their own respect. It's crazy to kind of see where music is going nowadays too, and just to be a part of like some of these newer waves. So, there's something for everybody. That's all I can say. But sometimes you got to jam that old school stuff too, because it just feels good.
Oh yeah. I feel you, man. And then, who are 3 people who've inspired you and you can credit for making you the person you are today?
Oh man, that's easy. My mom, myself, and my friends.
Awesome. And then, are there any causes or organizations that you support and encourage others to check out?
Ooh, anything. There's an organization called Heart Support that we've worked with in the past. Like they do great stuff. Our friend Taylor just left, but it's Jake from August Burns Red, like mental health organization foundation. Like they do absolutely great stuff. So I'd check them out. As far as anything else, causes or any, like if you believe in something, man, just go out there. You can seek it, find it, and especially like I said, if you're trying to do right and help people, then there's not going to be any right or wrong answer. Just do your research and see what you come up with.
Nice. And then, what was your favorite toy as a child?
Trains, actually.
Nice.
Thomas the Tank Engine was one of my favorite things. That and Power Rangers.
Awesome. And then, any message that you have for our military members currently serving overseas? Oh,
Appreciate you. Get home safely. I got a lot of friends in the military. Got friends that are getting ready to leave, and it's an interesting decision. It's a hard decision. It's not one that I could make. I could certainly say that, but hey, guess what? Everybody has their callings in life, and to go out there and want to fight and protect and make sure that, I guess, how am I going to say this the best way possible? You're ensuring the security of your country and your own personal well-being at the same time. It's a hard line to kind of balance. So again, I salute anybody that does it. Like I said, if you're already gone, get back safe, get back to your families, set up your life, live your life the way that you want. If you're using the military as a vessel or a stepping stone to something, or if you're lifelong too, man. I've met some great people that have, that's what they love to do. That's what they felt like their calling was. And, to this day, great, awesome individuals. So like I said, salute to everybody. Love you. Keep it up, man.
Awesome, man. And like, you mentioned, the tours and stuff coming up that you guys are going to be jumping on, but like anybody wants to, follow your guys' adventures and see like what's next on the horizon, or, check out some of the music. If there's people on here that are hearing about you for the first time, where would you send them?
We got a website, ofvirtueband.com. We're really active on TikTok, Instagram, X. All of those are just at Of Virtue. Facebook as well, all the same handle. But YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere where you can stream music, you will find us. So as long as you type in Of Virtue in any kind of search bar, you can put in freaking Google for all I care, you'll find us. But yeah, most up to date Instagram, TikTok, our website, we update daily. So check us out there.
Awesome. Awesome. Damon, man, thank you so much for your time. It's great talking with you and finally getting this interview wrapped up, man.
Yeah, we made it work.
Yeah. And then if I could ask one last favor before I let you go, you mind cutting a promo ID for the show? Just introduce yourself, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
Yeah, no problem. Let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, whenever you are, man.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Damon from Virtue, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
Awesome. Awesome, Damon. Thank you so much, brother. It was good talking with you. I hope one of these dates brings you guys back to the Cleveland area. I'd love to come see you again.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, we're gonna get back down there here pretty soon.
Awesome. Sounds good, man. You take care.
You do the same, bro. Be easy.
Bye-bye.
Listen up! Hold on to your seats! Grab your girls, grab your beers!
Hey everybody, this is Charlie from Anthrax, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now here's your host.
I am Monty Heath, so one Heath, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
Hey, what's up? It's John from Skillet, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle on Domain Cleveland Radio.